Okay, we're going to try this again. Welcome everyone. This is going to be a live video for the Epic Fantasy Reviews. This time we're going to be talking about Crossroads of Twilight. Yes, the 10th book in the Wheel of Time trilogy. Originally it was only supposed to be a trilogy. The 10th book in the Wheel of Time series. And we're getting close to the point where we leave the Robert Jordan only stuff behind, and we approach into what people are calling the Brandon Sanderson era. There's only one more book left that Robert Jordan completed on his own before his unfortunate passing. So, where do we begin with this one? Well, this book starts off with Rotel Ituralda planning numerous, and I mean numerous, assaults throughout Ara Demande to try and get rid of the Shanshan presence, and it helps get the Terrabonners out of Ara Demande at the same time. So it's an interesting little plan there, and unfortunately we don't really see much of this come into play throughout the book. It's just you're giving a quick hint at it, and nothing else really seems to come from it. You have to wait until later on. One of the things I dislike about this book is it's another one of the books where everything seems to be happening at the same time compared to another book. This is where we still continue to have the beacon of the massive ter'angreals, the Chodan Kal, being used, and this is where the cleansing of Sayadin is being taken place still. So you still have in the beginning chapters of this book a lot of people going, "Oh my god, what are they weaving?" So, you know, it's more of the same. It kind of makes sense because you can't cover everybody in one book. There's a lot of characters in this series, and they've spread themselves out quite far right now. So the first time we hear of the whole power and the weaving of what the hell is going on over there, we have Elaine and Avienda traveling around to the small houses of Carrion, trying to get their, what's the term I'm looking for here? Support for Elaine to take the throne. She's the rightful heir anyways, but when the throne's contested, yada yada yada, she's fighting to try and gain control of her throne. So she's having to travel around, visiting all the smaller houses, and now that she has kinswomen to make gateways for her, this is making it a lot easier, because she's doing this in the middle of a blizzard. So that's kind of interesting. That's a decent little part there. We learn also that the wave mistress to the Atha'an Mier has perished, and that Zaida, whatever her last name is, she is leaving Camelin to try and be down in Ilion for the voting of the next wave mistress. Leaves Elaine in a little bit of a pickle, but she manages to take care of it just well. And turns out it's actually a good thing that the sea folk are leaving, because this is the point when Dylan comes back with 4 of the high seats. Gilliard, Mantiar, Paraval, and I don't know, some other one. I know it's 2 young boys, 1 of-age boy, and 1 annoying little priss of a girl. So those are the new high seats Elaine has to take care of, and thankfully they've thrown their support behind her, so now if you count official support behind Elaine and official support behind Aramilla, they're tied at 4 and 4. So that kind of works out pretty good for them. At least it's balanced, although Elaine is still terribly outnumbered. We also, unfortunately, at this point, realize that Avienda okay, not unfortunately for this point, Avienda's able to read what ter'angreal do, and helps Elaine do a little bit of studying on the stuff they got from the kin's storage. The unfortunate part is wise ones have now deemed that she's slackened in her training to be a wise one too far, and it's time to leave. So we have Avienda leaving Elaine. Another group taking off to go somewhere else. It happens a lot in this series. Moving on from there, we have you begin to learn that there's something happening in the Black Tower. The Black Tower, this is the beginning of what I would call the Black Tower Civil War. Mainly, this is where Logain is easily spotted as having gone against Taim, wanting to do the recruiting himself, not listening to what Taim has to say, and eventually taking off and doing his own little mission. And as the Aes Sedai that are bonded to him say, Logain Ablar is preparing for war at this point. So that's it's kind of, we all knew it was coming, but it's interesting to see it starting here, especially when you consider in the series when it actually ends. It starts this early. Oy, oy, oy. Now, progressing on from here, what else do we remember about this book? The courtship of Tuon begins in this. So Mat has, in the previous book, escaped from Ebudar with Tuon wrapped up in a wall hanging, and has been hiding among Valen Luca's traveling show. So we begin to see some of the courtship of Tuon happening here. Mat making a complete ass out of himself. Mat realizing that Tuon doesn't really take well to being considered a faithless servant. And if I'm correct, this is where the game between them begins. Tuon refuses to call him by his name, calling him Toy. So Mat decides to start calling her Precious. I could be wrong. That could be happening in the second book, or the next book, but the courtship happens. These two books, Crossroads of Twilight and Knife of Dreams, blend together as one book in my mind, so it's hard for me to tell one for the other. Even though I just finished Crossroads of Twilight, Knife of Dreams sticks out in my mind a lot more, because a lot more interesting stuff happens. This is where Lylwyn ends up... This is where Aeginin, ends up losing her name and is now being known as Lylwyn Shipless because Tuon strips her name from her. So that causes a bunch of idiocy for a little bit there. It's also where they're almost entirely betrayed. During a moment where some of the Aes Sedai are off, some of the... what's the term for them? Suldam are off as well. One Suldam remains behind, Bethamin, and she knifes Aeginin in the back, Lylwyn at this point, and takes off running, because Lylwyn was the only one who knew Bethamin's secret, and that is that Suldam can be affected by the Idam, which means Suldam can learn how to channel. That's going to be a major blow to the Shan-Shan. Mat ends up chasing after them, and orders the thing that he doesn't want to do the most. He orders the death of another woman. It's saved slightly by Tuon basically ordering Mat that he's not allowed to grieve for this woman. She sowed her own grave, as to speak, so she doesn't allow Mat to grieve or feel sorry for the fact that this woman had died. Progressing on further, we get to Egwene and the rebel Aes Sedai. They have traveled through Gateway and have now completed a siege of Tarvalin. They're camping just outside Tarvalin, and they're trying to stop the supplies from coming in and out. We have a couple more deaths in the rebel Aes Sedai camp, deaths being caused by someone channeling Sayadine, which we all know is Halima, the secretary to Delana. And it's actually not Halima, because Halima is really Arengar, one of the Forsaken, who the Dark Lord put into a new body. That's a little creepy and twisted when you put a male into a female's body, but when you look at Arengar and how twisted he is, it kind of makes sense. So with the deaths happening, and the deaths always seem to be happening, taking out the people who are planning to do the rebels' next step in the raid, Egwene decides she is the Amerlin's seat. She does what needs to be doing regardless of how difficult it is. So Egwene Alvier rides off in the night, meets up with Bodwin Cawthon, stops her from going on the mission, and takes the role in the mission herself. And between Egwene and Lyanna? No, not Lyanna. Lyanna. Between Egwene and Lyanna, they turn the harbor chains that block the north and south harbor of Tarvalin into Quendiar. Now, Egwene completely flashes hers to Quendiar before she is caught because she forgot to prepare herself ahead of time. She wasn't thinking too clearly. And so she ends up getting caught, slammed down into the water. Lyanna gets caught as well, but she was slower than Egwene at changing the chain, so 3/4 of the harbor chain on Lyanna's side has gone to Quendiar. So they might still be able to get people in, but we don't really know for certain. And by this point, we've hit the epilogue of the book, and Egwene is now a captured Amerlin, being force-fed forkroot tea and raced off to the White Tower. So we covered Elaine and Aviendha. We covered a little bit of the Black Tower. There's really not much of Rand in this book, except for in the epilogue where Rand is he's cursing. He's cursing a lot of people because Rand's starting to go slightly crazy. But Rand at this point is trying to meet desperately with the Daughter of the Nine Moons, who we know is Tuon. But a meeting is set up between Rand, the Dragon Reborn, and the Daughter of the Nine Moons. Who is Rand supposed to meet? We don't know, because we get told this at the very end of this book. And as for Perrin at this point, what's happening with Perrin? He is still crazy and dedicated, chasing after his wife, who's still trapped over in Malden with the rest of the Aiel. We see Perrin stop off at a granary to try, or a town that has been completely corrupted by bubbles of evil, to the point that just dead spirits are walking around everywhere. But that's the most we really see of Perrin. We'll learn more about Perrin, what's going on with Perrin in Knife of Dreams. We'll learn more about everybody, actually, in Knife of Dreams. This is why these two books blend together with me. But, yeah, Crossroads of Twilight. It's a good book. It's a little on the slow side for my personal liking, but there's a lot of setup that happens in Crossroads of Twilight. A lot of it's a lot of setup for what happens in Knife of Dreams, and in my opinion, Knife of Dreams is a far better book, which is also what saddens me, because Knife of Dreams is the last book that Robert Jordan did. So that'll be our next episode, everyone. So take care, enjoy, make sure this video doesn't get deleted this time, because my phone deleted it last time. And hopefully after the weekend, you'll be able to hear, after the weekend I'll have the next review up and ready. So take care, enjoy this episode, and we're getting to the end.